Which Christian are we? Do we love Christ passionately? Or is the bar what's important? I read a book recently, and the author of the book talked about questions that people ask him. He said, he talked about these backdoor questions, like, and can you answer this for me, Pastor? That kind of stuff. Stuff like this. Pastor, that part in the Bible that says, if I deny Jesus before men, he'll deny me before the Father in heaven, is that true? Or questions like, Pastor, if I sleep with my girlfriend, does that mean that I'm not going to go to heaven? Pastor, if I cheat on that test at school, does that mean that Jesus doesn't love me? And he collects all these questions and he makes this point. John 14:15 says this, if you love me, you'll obey my commands. So ultimately, subconsciously, what we're asking as people is this. Can I go to heaven and not faithfully, truthfully love Jesus? And the answer to that question is no. We are to love Jesus as if he is our passion. That doesn't mean we won't have bumps. That doesn't mean we won't make mistakes. It just means this, when all is complete, when we finish, Christ is who we live for. Is Christ your passion? Pastor says this to us. Jesus realizes that it's not just you and him. You can look around the room and you can tell that. What we find in verse 31 is this. And the second commandment, the first is this, the love of God. We'll sum it up in 3 words. And the second commandment is this. It's commandment 1A. It goes right alongside of that. Is the love of people for God's sake. Because Jesus says this, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now that's interesting for us because the idea of our neighbor, we have a different understanding than they did in the biblical time period. And Jesus taught this to different people when he would deal with the Good Samaritan parable. The idea of neighbor for them was something that Jesus tried to point out over and over. For me, my neighbor was a guy named Tom Cooper when I was growing up. But when Jesus defined neighbor, ultimately, he was saying anybody. You're to love people as you love yourself. You're to love your enemy as you love yourself. That's a stretch. Love your enemy? I was in kindergarten, and I had an outfit on, a little white shirt with the green alligator on it, a pair of green shorts that my grandmother had made that were far too short for public wear, and a pair of Kermit the Frog tennis shoes. It was as if my outfit was having an amphibian war. One day I showed up at church. I don't know if you realize this yet, there are mean people in church. Mean people in this world. This girl walks up to me, she snickered, she pointed at my shoes in a way that I knew she wasn't telling the truth, and she said, nice shoes. And in no way did I want to love her. I was in the 4th grade, and it was the day after Easter, my grandmother was still raising me. In the 4th grade, Easter, back in the day, you would wear your Easter outfit to school the next day. That's just kind of how it worked. You only wore it for an hour and 7 minutes at church. You wear these clothes, kid. So I showed up. I had this baby blue and white Easter outfit on. I did not realize I was a chunky child. Everyone else did. I worked through it. I walked out to the 4th grade table where this little boy walked up to me, put his finger in my tummy, pressed, and said, hee, like I was going to squeeze a croissant roll out of my ear. I did not love him either. You mean that I'm supposed to love mean people? I'm supposed to love nasty people. I'm supposed to love people who make fun of me. I'm supposed to love people who do things that hurt me and harm me. And the answer to that question is yes. Because when we call ourselves Christians or followers of Christ or disciples of Christ, what we are always saying is this: I will die for the teachings of my Master. I will go to whatever extent necessary for the one who has called me to his side. I will do whatever Jesus leads me to do. I will love these difficult people. And when I look at it, it means that we live like Jesus lived to the best of our earthly ability. And we see Jesus looking at a woman who everyone in their town considered a whore. And he said, just follow me, and I will change your life. Come on. We look at Jesus telling a man who was a tax collector. For us, tax collectors are kind of nuisances. In the biblical time period, they took advantage of every person who was part of their culture. Jesus said, let me make you different. Jesus on the cross looks at this guy who's next to him and said, today you're going to be with me in paradise. So it's for us to live out this all or nothing thing that you're talking about this weekend, for us to live out full, God-ordained commitment, we must come to a place where we realize Christ is to be priority. Christ has called us to something higher and means for us to live out something greater. It's not just me showing up at this building on Sundays and Wednesdays and whenever there's an event scheduled. It means that Christ is my passion. Do we love Jesus in that way? Because if we do, it's going to affect those who are around us. The roller coaster is interesting because it eventually comes to a dead stop. 12 seconds and it's through. You begin to take steps off the coaster as you walk down a set of steps. You notice there is a group of people gathered at the bottom. They have one thing and one thing only in common. In front of them are a set of monitors. And on those monitors are pictures that have been taken from your roller coaster ride. And this group of people stands there and looks at these pictures. And they can tell by what they see if you are passionate about the coaster. Or if you spent your ride worried about a bar. It becomes blatantly obvious to people whether we love Jesus or we're just going through the motions for the sake of making everybody else happy. What do you do with this idea of Christ calling you to all-out commitment?